This is Naomi Bennett with Learn Astrology Now. We're going over the second quarter 2011 since the first quarter was so dramatic with all of the Arab states going up into rebellion against their current dictatorships. And then we had the Japanese earthquake, tsunami, and now their nuclear reactor is unstable. That really has not been dissolved, even though as of the date of this recording, on March the 23rd. It's no longer in the news because we have the third leg of a third war in Libya against Gaddafi with the Allied forces, and so it's dominating the news. They have power to the plants, but they really haven't hooked up the pumps and the generators. They're still doing that manually, and I think we could still have some major news events here in early April, because it is an ongoing problem and has not been truly stabilized yet. And the same thing with Libya. Gaddafi's very clearly not willing to give up. I think he's going to go to his death probably on this. And when we do the next weekly chart regarding Gaddafi, we will be bringing up his chart and looking at the details of the events that are going on right now for the coming week. But we're going to go over the major aspects for the second quarter because we still have Pluto in Capricorn, which represents huge military actions and organized response, government response. And then we have a Uranus that had just gone into the sign of Aries just as the day of the nuclear reactor went into chaotic failure. And I believe that Pluto rules Aries, and that's totally associated with nuclear accidents. In fact, they mentioned in another foreign country in the Eastern Bloc that they had another nuclear reactor that had failed there. No release of radiation, but of course the Japanese are experiencing radiation in their milk, water, and the vegetables, so that's all being guarded. It went all the way to the United States, but such a low level that our government is at least telling us that there's very little to be done there. So we will stop this part of the video and go on to the chart to go on to the major aspects. The other thing I wanted to say before we did that is, okay, that Uranus is in Aries. We have 3 or 4 planets. We have Mars, Venus, the Sun, and Uranus all in Aries, and that is definitely related to large military actions, excessive force, and organized crime, and we're certainly seeing that still in Mexico. I haven't seen that in international news from the U.S., but certainly the events in Mexico are continuing. So with this, we'll stop the video and go on to the chart. This is the chart for the next quarter, the second quarter 2011. Please note that I have marked off in red lines on the left-hand side where the cardinal signs, the fixed signs, the immutable signs are. Don't have time to explain that. You can go to the website to get a more explanation or Google what the meaning of cardinal, fixed, immutable are, but if you have any astrological background, you'll understand those divisions. This is a 90-degree chart, so it explains conjunctions, squares, and opposition aspects, which are the most likely ones that are activated in major mundane events. And we are still starting out with a bang. March was a very difficult month, and the early part of April is too, because we are going to have a Mars conjunct Uranus in Aries, and the major period of time will be April the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. There's a new moon on the 3rd, and it also involves Saturn. So it could be the major day, could be April 3rd, but that whole period is important. It could mean the end of Gaddafi. It could be the end of the assault that's going on, or it could be another crisis with the nuclear reactors, because that hasn't been resolved in Japan as of this recording. And then we have another important date around April the 11th, because then Mars squares Pluto. That could be another event with the nuclear reactor, because Pluto rules atomic power and nuclear problems. And then it goes on that Mars opposes Saturn on April the 18th. Now, since Saturn is in Libra, it could have something to do with justice, legal change, or the old dying away. It could be that that was the final end of Gaddafi, or that we have legalized constitutions, more legal results in Egypt as they try and form a new government. That's the other possibility. So until mid-April, we have very significant aspects that are occurring that should create more world events. I would say, though, that the end result of April 3rd is that we could have some surprising relief or a surprising change events during that time. In May, it's relatively calm. We only have what I consider one major aspect is Sun square Neptune on May the 21st, and that usually deals with deception, particularly men saying things that are not true or to mislead us during that time. So I would watch any announcements that had happened anywhere in May 21st. Then we hop on to June, because June is a very important month that has everything to do with eclipses. We have a partial solar eclipse centered on June the 1st. We have a total lunar eclipse and moon wobble on June 15th. And then July the 1st is a partial solar eclipse, but it is also has Sun opposition to Pluto square Uranus. So it winds up being between June 15th and July 1st to be a very important period of time. Note that the lunar nodes are in Sagittarius and Gemini. Those are signs of social change and reform and taking one's society to a new level and to a new direction. So the nodes being in the mutable signs are very important during this aspect, but particularly between the June 15th and July. So we see that this eclipse period that is particularly between June the 15th and July the 1st to be another critical period. Will it culminate most of the military rebel activity in the Arab states? Will there be another crisis point, or will there be a major turn of events because we will start having planets leave the sign of Aries, which is forced rebellion and revolution, and move into Taurus, which is much more conservative. So we expect to have another very strong time period during this time. With this, we will end this recording and be safe, be conservative, and guard against what I want to say, against erratic behavior on your own part, so the world doesn't direct you. You control your own life. Ending this with the very best to you, Naomi Bennett from Learn Astrology Now.